computer, and I also use the intelligence and ability of the librarians to help me use the computer, as do the children in this community, because I know that there's no point in me trying to book time on the computer when the schools have just broken up in the evening, because all the kids are in there. They haven't got computers at home and they're using them, and the librarians are helping them. Volunteers are not going to be able to do that. We need to keep our librarians.
I take your point about Helmsley, and we're aware of that, and certainly that's the community where I believe already we're in discussions about community options. So I mean, I think we feel quite encouraged by what's happening there. So we feel optimistic that there will be solution for both Easingwold and Helmsley in the fullness of time. Yeah, I agree that everybody doesn't have a computer entirely. But what I can say is that the volunteers that run the library, and I'm sure Julian reinforced this, in Grassington and in Hawes, have been trained to the same level and to the same degree as those people that are the full-time staff of the library service. And, you know, I think what they would say to you is that they get a service that's as good as that they had before. Julie, do you want to confirm that or not?
Yeah, actually, is it switched on? Can you hear me? Yeah. One of the things that we have been doing, somebody mentioned co-location, one of the questioners. We have been for some time, and actually Helmsley is one case in point, where we've been working with the district council, and what we found is that some of those frontline jobs, if you like, around working with people, learning the skills, showing people how to use a library, showing people how to use the computers, we've actually traded those with the district council staff. So in other words, if you were to go into some of the libraries, you know, currently, and think that you are necessarily being served by a library member of staff, actually in some instances those staff are trained in library skills, but they're not necessarily employees of NYCC as library staff. They could actually be district council staff. So I think some of those skills, what you're talking about, are necessarily the preserve of professional, you know, libraries. And what we want to do is to say, we can't afford, given the current budget, for every single person that you see when you walk into a library to be mainstream revenue funded. However, what we can do and guarantee is that we will be working with as many partner organisations as we can. They don't necessarily just have to be volunteers, they could actually be employees from another agency or organisation to ensure that that quality is retained. The other thing that you're saying about internet use and use of computers, 100%, and actually it's something that Derek and I have been pushing very hard, because we do recognise that vital resource in communities. People, but also what you're saying about the children, and my own daughter has a computer at home, what she actually likes is the social element of going and crowding around a PC with other children, and that's probably why you can't get on after.
No, it's because they haven't got them at home, because I've spoken to them.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, children, you know, we recognise that that is an important element of what we provide, and we fought quite hard to ensure that as much as we can, we think we're going to be able to retain that element of provision. So, again, as part of this consultation process, we've been able to actually push quite hard for retaining some of those resources, and we'll carry on doing that.
Thank you, Julie. Second row, Ian.
John Kilburn. And I have to tell the officers that I'm immensely disappointed by the very negative proposals, and I suspect I'm not alone. I'd like to preface my question with 3 facts. 1. More than 20 local authorities have decided not to close any of their libraries. They include Essex, Cornwall, Devon, Lincolnshire and Norfolk. Moreover, in response to a public outcry, Somerset have reprieved 9 of their libraries. 2. In last Friday's Yorkshire Post, there was a report saying that ongoing discussions at County Hall have resulted in revised plans which could see the libraries given a stay of execution for at least a year. This delay is in order to find time for local people to plan how to run things themselves. Fact 3. The Sunday Times of 6th of February carried a report concerning the English arm of an American company which claims to be the only specialist library management service in the UK. It offers to retain libraries at the heart of our communities while driving up service standards and increasing efficiency. Oxfordshire County Council are apparently already in discussion with them. So, to the question. If North Yorkshire does decide to delay its plans, will the officers also use that time to find out how to run things better themselves by learning more from the 20 authorities who already do run libraries well, and also from Library Systems and Services UK Limited, which is committed to working with councils and their communities to help them provide improved library services? Thank you.
About the other 20 authorities, and that they might be in a very different position to North Yorkshire with regards to what they consider to be their priorities. I don't know. What I don't know is that the circumstances, all the circumstances of those councils. What I do know is that the settlement has hit North Yorkshire County Council very, very hard indeed. And we've got little leeway. So far as the and the other thing I would say is that, and I know many of those councils that were planning initially cuts in libraries, they were looking at closing libraries, as I say, full stop, not with a solution in the way that we're trying to pursue one, John. The Yorkshire Post, yes, I read that article too, and I would guess that that's probably in relation to the county council papers that were coming out that actually Peter Sowry mentioned a little earlier, which was the £350,000 that I also mentioned, which does give us more time and will allow us to work with communities that much longer to find a solution that's right for them. I've also read the article about the US company that effectively would take on libraries privately. What I do know from that model, though, is that they would expect to have the full costs transferred to them and the full budget, including all the back office and infrastructure, that would make it a going concern for them. So actually, it might not, in the straight away, save the council any money. Of course, we'll look at all options that are out there in that period of time to see whether any of them are viable, John. Thanks for your comments.
Thank you. Yes. Up at the back, please, Ian.
Good evening. Oh, a bit loud. I don't even need a microphone, really. Good evening. It's Mike Pannett. Just get about that right. Good evening. I think if the table had been a boat when you first started speaking at the beginning of the evening, it would have been going backwards at a great rate of knots. Can I just ask a question? We're looking at cuts. We know that the cuts have got to come. I don't think there's been any real thought given to the library cuts and how savage they are in rural North Yorkshire. I think we fail to be forgetting about the mobile library service, which does a fantastic job, who gets out to 600,000 people in our area. People who have got low income but are very bright children who can't necessarily afford to go out and buy computers but can access the books. With regards to cutbacks, there's been some real expensive consultations, expenses. I'm not quite sure, and I hope the £350,000 that's mentioned isn't just going to be wasted while we consultate forever. The last thing I'll say, and it's just a question, when we're looking at saving money, everybody in this room, you know, people have all been short of money, and so I don't stand by hearing defences for very excessive wages in this very difficult time. The local chap who went to Easingwold and used the library service is now the head of the Royal Bank of Scotland, and bless him, last year he didn't take a paid bonus, but this year he's going to take a couple of £1 million when we're all struggling. With regards to the North Yorkshire County newsletter, this is my question. Are we going to be able to save money which is used, and I think the figure is something like £700,000 to distribute the newsletter, forcibly if you like, to every home in North Yorkshire, when in fact we could potentially put it online and save some money that way. So my question is, are we going to look at saving costs with the North Yorkshire County newsletter?
Thank you. Councillor Patmore would like to respond to that. Oh, sorry, Councillor Dan. Sorry.
Hello. Yes, you can hear me. In response to the specific question about North Yorkshire Times, as it's called, there was a decision taken only last week to scrap it. But having said that, I want to put right some myths that have been flying around. I've heard figures that it's costing us as council taxpayers £700,000 a year. It is not. Our detailed savings by scrapping it will be about £280,000 a year. But that's got to be weighed up against the benefits of, and possibly as the council expands in the future, and it will need to take people on in the future. I don't talk about over the next couple of years. It will mean job adverts, it will mean things like that, but the savings will be about £280,000 a year. We've listened and it's been scrapped.
Thank you. Kerry?
Hello, I'm Kerry Chidwick. I'm head teacher of the secondary school in Easingwold. And for your information, I've already offered the school as a partner in perhaps helping to run the library as a social enterprise, because we believe very strongly in the role of the school at the heart of its community for learning. And obviously, you know, there could be a great partnership there. But my question is this. All of you officers and members have this evening said that, in hindsight, closure was perhaps the wrong word to use, and it has proved very emotive. And that, you know, you might look at doing something different. We all understand in this community the need to save money, and I can tell you as head teacher with a budget to run, I understand it firsthand. What I'm interested in knowing is, given that the proposition you had for closure was simply to open the debate, you've all said that this evening, would you now be prepared to give us an understanding that you will change that proposition to keeping Easingwold Library with a skeleton staff of professional North Yorkshire librarians, run in partnership with a team of volunteers from this community?
I mean, first of all, Kerry, I want to thank you and your school for your offer of working with us, and the notion of developing a social enterprise is very attractive. So thanks for that. So far as, like I said, we've all said, haven't we, that you learn lessons when you go through a process. You know, none of us are immune from learning lessons. And actually, although we did talk about a community model in our proposals, I think what everybody read was the closure word. And in fact, the community ownership model applies right across the board in all of our thoughts on all libraries that were in that consultation document. But, you know, it may have been, as you say, and we've all said, clumsily written to the extent that, you know, what people read was the emotive closure word. And that's why I started off tonight, didn't I? The first words you heard from me, apart from good evening, was, I'm not here to close your library. And that's an absolute guarantee. What I can't do tonight, though, Kerry, is get into confirming details, confirming, you know,